everywhere I go. I was gonna try and put it in gear, but I figured that would be a bad idea. I had a different childhood. Trying to be nice about it. I could definitely leave the country and no one would be too worried. So I saved money. I worked for my father because I couldn't get a job because I was uneducated, illiterate moron. And I ended up working for my father, and he knew why I was working there. So he basically gave me a plane ticket to America.
I'm from a place called Australia. What a great place that is, if it was just mine and no one else lived there.
So I get that money when I was 17, so I think right when I turned 17, because I couldn't go when I was 16. I wanted to go, and I remember also being told not to go because it's too soon. I'm not good enough to go yet, because it was to go and to turn pro. It wasn't to go. I just wanted to go, but everybody else career-wise was saying, if you go now, it'll be too soon. And I was like, I don't know how much longer I'll live. I'm going. I'll never forget, man, walking out of the airport and all the cars and all the people look like in the movies. But to me, it was just a different thing. Like, I was so excited about California and skateboarding, and that Tony Hawk was in the same area as I was. Like, to know that at any time I could see somebody who normal people didn't care about at the time, but to me it was just like a world of stars. By the time I got here, I think within 3 months, I just became 100. I learned 3 tricks a day, and I've still never met anybody that loves skateboarding as much as me. If you talk to me, I'll change the conversation into skateboarding. If it's not about skateboarding, it'll be, that's cool, it reminds me of, and off I go. I was just possessed. I remember every now and then I'd hear a good guy say, yeah, man, Ellis is ripping. And I'd go, oh my God, Lance Mountain said I was ripping. To another person. Holy shit. But that never... I remember I went to the Bones Brigade. I went to the office, and Stacy and a few other guys like Steve Size, people, Bones Brigade, real Bones people. And I'm a little guy staying at Lance's. And Stacy made a joke. Cut me in half. I'll never forget it. But he was like, oh, Jason, you're staying at Lance's. We should sign this guy up, get him on the team. And I was like, oh, really? And then they all started laughing, and I was like, oh, like, that was a joke. But to me, it was like, oh my God. I mean, it was so far-fetched, but it came out of Stacy's mouth. I thought maybe they saw something that I didn't know, but no, they were all joking. Nobody wanted to sponsor me at all. So yeah, it wasn't that special when I got here. I always knew what was cool. I was just a vert dude, so you can't be cool. But I always knew what was cool. So when those dudes came over to watch me, I was like, oh, like, they think they're in for a treat right now. Like, they want to watch this. And usually street dudes don't want to watch any vert dude. So that meant the most to me. And at that point, I felt like I had the most potential on the ramp, and I was the most dangerous. And that's all I really wanted to be. I just wanted to be a badass, you know? Like, I was pretty cheesy and trying to be scary. I wanted to go really fast and almost kill myself and make it. That was kind of like the highlight to me. If I could do something wrong and still make it, those were the things that meant the most to me. I knew that I was not at my peak. I knew I'd passed my peak. Injuries, drinking, not being a serious athlete at all. So that started to decline quickly, And then Tony got a radio show on Sirius XM and said, hey, I want you to be the co-host. And I didn't think anything of it. I just said, yeah, cool. He's like, I'll pay you $500 an episode. I was like, holy shit, yeah, I'm in. So now I'm the co-host of the Tony Hawk Show. And as soon as we started talking, I was like, man, I'm naturally really good at this. And in skateboarding, I was naturally really bad at it. Like I had two twin brothers that were overweight and they were way better than me. Not for the first 6 months, for like 4 years, they were better than me. I was just like uncoordinated, I guess. Not a very athletical body. So when I started radio and I felt this skill, and then I saw all the people in the room, there was a bunch of executives in the room and they were all like talking to each other. And I could tell it was about me. And I've been in a situation before when I've been good at stuff. And I'm like, these guys are talking about how good I am at this. Like, they're like, can you believe this guy? I don't know. This is amazing, right? And I'm like, oh, if I put the effort that I put into skateboarding with no talent whatsoever into this, I could be the next big thing. And then they offered me a job. They were like, do you want to move up to LA and be a DJ? And I remember telling Kevin Staub right here under the ramp saying, I'm moving to LA, man, like all emotional because I knew that I couldn't skate anymore. And that was pretty much I had to retire because I was not going to skateboard anymore. And then I gave it up and I moved to LA with my little baby and my wife, and 6 hours a day, I just possessed just like I used to when I was skateboarding. Just kept going at it until it got gigantic. Right when I moved to LA to be in radio, my father passed away, I think the year before, and then my baby brother passed away like a year and a half later, something like that, and he was only 24. And that was like the last straw for me. Like I had a pretty gnarly childhood, but I didn't even remember it at that time, so it wasn't that bad. That was like it was hard for me to just survive with that. I felt like I could give up, like I'd had it with life kind of thing, because I just couldn't believe this was happening. But I had that job in the radio, and it just started, and I remember them saying, you don't have to go in, because of what's happened. You can take as much time as you want. And I said, no, I want to be on. I don't know what else I'll do with my life. And I told everybody my honest thoughts about what was happening. I shared the funeral and all the things that I'd gone through, and it made me, and the people that were listening, the honesty connected with a lot of people, and it made me realize that a lot of people out there go through the same stuff that I did. You're not alone. But when you have had something like that happen and someone's honest about it on TV, on social media, whatever it is, people connect. And it was an instant connection where people were reaching out to me going, hey man, that was, really meant a lot. And I feel like that part connected fans and made the show big. Because once I started talking like that, I couldn't stop. I just always kept talking about what was on my mind, what was, if it was painful and I didn't want anyone to know, I talked about it. And I feel like not a lot of people do that, especially back then. So it was either you hated me or you loved me. So that made it get bigger. And then when I saw that, that's when I knew that like I was giving back and I was helping people. Then I became even more passionate, because I never thought that I'd amount to something that would be positive and that would help people through their day-to-day life. Started to fight when I moved to LA. At one point, the money was too thin to live there anymore, so I moved to Temecula, and I would drive 4 hours to the studio every day. And I couldn't skate, so I found a mixed martial arts gym to take up some time, because I had to do something with my body. And I immediately fell in love with that because I could learn from scratch. It was like skateboarding again, but you had to start from the bottom. And when you start from the bottom, you can never have a bad day. You're always better the next day. I became possessed by mixed martial arts. I still train all the time. I've always been scared of fighting. I've always been scared of violence. I've had a lot of it in my life, and I know people, like, this is just a look. Like, I look scary, but I look scary because I want you to leave me alone. Like, I don't want to get in a fight. I'd rather you just think that I'm going to kick your ass and then we call it a day, because I don't actually want to fight anybody. But because of that, I've been run over a lot in my life. So there is a lot of rage in there. So when I started training, I felt from a lot of practice and working with all these athletes that I could take a shot and keep coming forward, which sounded cool when I first heard that. I was like, can I? Oh, cool. That sounds cool. That's tough, right? And they're like, yeah, man, you're tough as shit. I'm like, all right, cool. Kind of regret that now, because I'd rather be evasive than tough. I'm pretty easy to hit. I can just take it. So, but that gave me some sort of pride. Once again, more respect for myself, and then a better appreciation of fighting and why men and women fight, and egos, and learning to squash them, and gaining confidence. When I was like, look, you don't have to fight anybody. You don't have to prove anything. You're in the gym doing it every day. You know, like, you're tough, dude. Like, if that's what you wanted to know about yourself, you found it out. So now let's move on with our lives, which I felt if I hadn't have had those fights and gone through that gauntlet, then I'd still have that big question mark, and it would maybe be a chip on my shoulder. But I find, like, I don't mind telling you I'm scared. Like, I don't want to fight anybody at the liquor store. I have no interest in that. And if you were little, big, doesn't matter what size you are, I'm nervous. I don't want to fight. But if you touch my friends or you're out of line somewhere, I know that I can regulate that, and it feels good to know that I can be that person. Like, if you fuck with my kids or something, you're not going to get very far. You know, if you push my friends around someone smaller, like, I try to defend people before, and then someone bigger's like, why don't you shut the fuck up? And I'm like, okay. But now, no, I will not. You will shut the fuck up. I've had a couple of boxing fights, 2 pro MMA fights, and then I fought a bunch of people at Alice Mania. That's how Alice Mania started. I started training for my first fight while I'm on the radio, and I'm telling everybody on the radio that this is the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. It's changing me as a person, like, my confidence, like, to know you're gonna fight in 3 months from now. It's different than just somebody picking a fight with you out the front of a gas station. You've got all this time to realize this person's training to hurt you. So there's a lot of nerves, a lot of fear, a lot of anxiety, and I went through it and I made it on the other side, and I felt like a total different man after it. I felt so much more confident, and I had this thing in my head. I was absolutely positive from that experience that every man should have a fight, an organized fight, because it will... You didn't do it in your whole life, and guys are always led to believe that they have to, or that if it comes down to it, they'll kick some ass. So you want to know that about yourself. And if you have a real fight and it's organized by the right people, where you don't get too hurt because the other person's the same level as you, you could do that. So I organized an event where if you had no training, no ability at all, I would find the same person, same ability, and you would have a real fight. So the nerves are there, the skill level isn't, but it's a fight. It's a real fight, and you went through it. Win or lose, you went through it. It's a little bit of a Fight Club mentality, but not as cheesy and not as good looking. But it was similar to that. Like, I felt like I helped a lot of people with their confidence. I just wanted to know how far I can go with that. Like, are you, when it comes down to it, are you a coward, or how far will you go? Like, I question myself a lot with that stuff. So I wanted to test enough until I knew that I could be proud of myself walking down the street. And that last fight I had, I got in a lot of trouble in that fight. I got rocked like 4 or 5 times, and I didn't quit. I figured out a way to get him, and I got him. And I was like, that's why I don't have 3 pro fights, because I was like, well, I'm not doing it for the money. I'm doing it because I want to test myself, and that was about as much of a test as I need. So, very fulfilling. The training, to go through that much training, starving yourself, injuries, all the pain, but you get up in the morning, you keep going. It's just life to me. It's like the best parts. The Jason Ellis Show is now a podcast. And then Tony called me and said, do you want to do a show with me? And I drove down here to ask him to his face, because I didn't want to do it over the phone. Are you doing this to help me? Because if you are, I don't want to do it. Like, I only want to do this if you want to do it. And he's like, dude, how insulting. Like, yes, I want to do it. That's why I'm asking. I'm not trying to, like, take care of you. So Tony and I have always been good friends, and have always, I think our friendship, obviously we're skateboarders, but we enjoy each other's company, man. Like, whenever we talk to each other, we're just talking like idiots, 100 mile an hour about this, that. So it's very easy. It's not work. I come down here and I shoot the shit with Tony Hawk, and then we go skate. It's kind of like the greatest day ever, once a week. If someone had told me that this could be a possibility when I was in radio, I would have said, no way. It's just too good to be true. To walk up on stage and try to make people laugh. So I'm probably more nervous before I do comedy than any other thing that I've done, fighting, everything. I just put a lot of pressure on myself to do well. And I've always been like that. It doesn't matter if it's a big contest or a little contest or a bet. When I make a bet or when I say I'm going to try and do something, I do it 110%. So to me, I just want to be good at comedy. I don't want to fail. I want everybody to laugh, and that's all I care about. And if they all laugh, then I'm doing my job. I don't care about being the best comedian in the world. I care about mastering my craft. I want to have it like I have skateboarding and fighting. I want to feel like I know what I'm doing out there and get off on that alone. That's it. I just want to be good at it. Know that I put in a lot of work, a lot of hours, a lot of dedication, a lot of time where I'm probably burning the candle at both ends because I'm working so much, but that's what makes me happy. If it stays like this, that'd be cool. If I got really big at comedy and it was like a living, so I was successful at it, then to me, I was successful at skateboarding, successful at radio, successful at podcasting, and then I got into comedy and I was successful at that at 50. By the time I feel like I master this, I'll be 60. So if I'm 60, that's it. Hang out with my kids, go to the gym, it's not, this is kind of my last goal, but I have a different outlook on my end. I don't care about what you think it's going to be. I already know it's going to happen. I just am enjoying the ride these days because it's different now. Like, if I could have skateboarding again, I would have enjoyed the ride more. Like, I didn't beat that guy. So what? You're in it. You're flying around the world skateboarding, doing whatever you want. So that's where I want to be in comedy, where I have a tour and the seats are always full and everybody's happy. That's, and then I do my podcast and everybody loves the podcast and everybody's happy. That's it. That's what I say. That's all I want.